Extracurricular and athletic cuts that we had originally proposed would be offset by the pay to participate program.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just had a quick question. Did you go back to Aetna? Have you had any discussions with them about negotiating down the increase that we're projecting?
I have had many conversations through our broker with them. I've spoken to our broker many times. Come up with a couple of ideas, some things that I told them after I got through tonight I would come back and revisit and talk to them about. So we're constantly looking at that. We're constantly trying to evaluate that. Problem, as I had mentioned before, is that at this point they have a very short window of claims experience on which to base their pricing on.
Yeah, but we're still a great get for them. So.
We are, and we started out a very high usage rate, and it has dropped slightly. So we're trying to play that to our advantage.
Yay, okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a couple things that I wanted to mention before I open the floor to the public. I did come tonight wanting to talk about pay to participate. It's something that it's a program that I believe that we don't have much choice but to institute, but it's not one that I particularly care for. And at the prior recommendation level, I care for it even less. I think I'm a little more in favor of the current structure, but I want to continue to talk about that and make sure I understand all the issues, and I haven't had the opportunity to see all of the particulars, such as what you have there. I want to make sure that we understand that if there is a parking fee at the high school, that we potentially drive students to park in our neighborhoods, and we have gone to great lengths to stop that in the past, and I wouldn't want to see it start again. It's not safe for them, it's not safe for the neighbors, so I'm not particularly in favor of that either. I do want to continue some conversation about our lease purchase and our technology budget. As some of you know, we've been talking about admin cuts, et cetera. We actually added someone partway through the year, Jeff's down at the end there, to be our director of technology, not only because of his expertise, but also because we have spent millions of dollars in this area. And I didn't believe at the time, nor do I believe now, that anyone other than Jeff is as qualified to help us with a plan of how to set up our system so it works when we need it to work, and help with professional development and a variety of other things. So I find that the lease purchase budget for technology, and also there's a significant number in there for a math pilot program. Now that's elementary?
Yes.
And it's pilot program because it's only going to be in one school, or we're not buying it, we're actually just testing it, or
it's a pilot this year, and we would.
Oh, it's right now in place as a pilot.
That's the rollout price for the first year.
Well, in any case, there's a significant amount of money in this budget for lease purchase financing to acquire things like technology and math. And while I believe that we need to move in a particular direction, this is a very difficult budget. It's difficult to have gone through the process we've gone through to get to where we are. It's going to be difficult for some employees because they're not going to have positions next year. It's going to be difficult for taxpayers who enjoyed a 0% or close to a tax increase for the last couple of years, and now they're not going to enjoy, a 3 point something, wherever it works out. So I think we need to just revisit that, perhaps talk about timing of how it gets instituted. Maybe it doesn't all get spent at once, so that if there's something that happens, that we don't expect, sometime mid-year, we wouldn't have committed those funds. We'd still have some surplus available to take care of an extraordinary issue. And then just a general comment about this budget tightens our opportunity to stay in balance, because there are quite a few things that we are budgeting. We used to budget at 50% of what we expect, like extraordinary aids a good one. we don't know what our extraordinary aid is going to be this year. You don't find out till August. We just filled out the application the other day. So we used to get our extraordinary aid and then hope that that would become surplus that we could pass on to next year because we hadn't budgeted. Now we are actually budgeting. If that payment gets cut back, we will have lost, some of our flexibility.
Our wiggle room.
Right, and we use our flexibility all the time for any number of smaller things that make sense at a particular time. So it is a tighter budget. You can expect, you might expect, if you're a teacher, come to your administrator, or administrator come to us, or however it works, and say, gee, if I only had $20, I could really do this with you. This would be great. We always used to have that $20. I don't know that we're going to be able to do that quite the same, because this budget is that much tighter. Have we gotten any information on the possibility of an exception for the healthcare increase?
I've looked at that, and there could be a small exception for the healthcare. What we're speaking about is the ability to go above your 2% cap because of your increasing costs in healthcare. I need to know what the final number is before I can plug it in and find out exactly what that number would be. So hopefully after tonight we can do that and find out what it is. I believe it could be anywhere between $0 and maybe $150,000.
Okay.
If that were the case, I would recommend that we back off on the bank cap. I would take that 150 out of the bank cap and try to keep the tax levy at the same amount.
Let's find out what it is first. Let's see, any other board member have any questions about the proposed budget at this time?
Right. Are we emphasizing tonight, as I've heard in committee, that for any students that have difficulty in pay-to-play fees, that we will certainly look at that and make sure that they're held harmless so that all students have the opportunities within our system?
Yes, we would use free and reduced lunch eligibility as a benchmark, as we do for many things. There's also sometimes, the family that is just having a difficult time, and we're usually pretty in tune with that. So we would certainly take those into account.
Allow
as
for
well.
those exceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've also discussed that with the Education Foundation.
Right. But I want to make sure.
Yeah, no, that's
very important
absolutely.
that that's part of this understanding.
Sure, go ahead.
Lynn, in this budget, we've now brought in the concept of pay to participate. We've talked about bank cap being added in. We've talked about tax levy being increased. We've talked about all these things. Is there any reason why we don't drive ourselves to a number for revenue generation on top of that and just put it in here? I mean, a budget is in some ways founded in reality, in other ways founded in aspiration of where you want to go and how you're going to be there. And sometimes to drive yourself to get there, you've got to put a number into your budget, reasonable, obtainable, but to get yourself going so that you don't end up short. Because if you don't put yourself with some goal, some reason to get there, some reason to put it into our budget for next year, even if it's a small number this year, why are we not thinking that way? Why are we not saying let's put a $50,000 plug number in there and say we're going to commit ourselves to raising this year $50,000 in these other revenue sources?
Well, I think we already did put some of the
Where?
the revenue in that we're getting with shared services with
But we already
DeWayco
have
and
those.
with.
But those are the ones we already have. The public's been asking us to think differently. Can you get closer to that? Think differently about bringing in more monies from other sources. I think if we owe it to the public, if we are going to commit ourselves to going down this road of alternative revenue generation, and whether it be through, sale of a sign or an advertisement, whatever it is, commit ourselves to putting some number here. Let's not be gun shy because we had a footfall several years ago on putting this into place, that we don't want to say we can do it next year. It just drives us to make us do it.
I hear what you're saying. My hesitancy in that would be that we're already, as Don kind of alluded to, budgeting some things that we don't typically budget. We're budgeting fund balance above that $406,000 level. We're talking about extraordinary aid. My concern would be one more thing, that if it doesn't pan out the way we wanted it to, that we would have additional concerns and shortfalls in revenue, which affects our fund balance even more for the following year. Worst case scenario, if we did, have a windfall year in revenue generation and we made extra money, we could always let that lapse into fund balance and use it in the following year. But given that we're doing some things that are new to us this year, I would be hesitant to throw that on top of the pile as well. I know that there's lots of meetings and people are talking about things and perhaps for the 15-16 budget, that could be a strategy that we could use. I would be hesitant to recommend that for 14-15.
Not even at a 10,000, 15,000. I'm not talking about putting $150,000 in this number and being unrealistic. I'm asking the question.
So Dave,
What does it balance out? Yeah. What do you balance that out with?
so just to answer Dave's question, we've had one meeting and several side meetings with the Revenue Generation Committee so far. I can assure you that the target is going to be much higher than you're thinking. In terms of putting it into a budget, I think it is difficult. Putting in a number in the $50,000 range, I don't think is going to be problematic. I don't see an issue with that. Obviously, the objective is going to be to drive a much higher number. And it's also to build revenue streams that are repeatable so that we can build them in bigger numbers into future budgets. So that's the objective. To be perfectly honest with you, on a small number in the budget for next year, I don't foresee any issues doing something like that. I'd be really disappointed if we can get something that trivial, and obviously we're shooting for a lot more. While I have the microphone, Don had asked a question about technology, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the investment is this year.
Lee, can you move it closer to you?
Thank you.
I know. I did want to spend a couple of minutes on the technology investment this year just to let people understand it, really where it originated, what it's intended to support, and what the big chunky pieces are that were lined up to spend on this year. First of all, about 12 months ago or so, the directive was to create a 3-year plan that was linked directly to curriculum and involved, obviously, administration. Ms. Butler and Ms. Rowe did most of the heavy lifting on putting together this 3-year plan, and they also held, at the same time, meetings with staff, MEA members, to make sure that what we were doing in terms of future investment was in line with what the technology investment would be. And those of you who have been at board meetings in the past, you'll know a year ago, the big push, or the emphasis was, has to be connected to curriculum, has to have some sort of benefit associated with it. So we have a couple of things in play. First of all, there's park readiness that we have to be prepared for. And there's certain system requirements and purchases we have to make in order to be compliant and for our children to be prepared to take the portions of those tests in online or on a computer-based environment. We also made an investment last year on the curriculum side in a Journeys program. It's a broad-based curriculum focused on reading, and a portion of that is actually linked into the use of smart boards, particularly in K through 5 is where we're focusing. In addition, there's math curriculum that's under consideration for next year and is in the current budget that will also leverage smart boards in the K through 5 environments. There's also the question that's been around for a long time about consistency of delivery and our ability to make sure that every grade, every class is getting a consistent experience so that you don't see huge differentials in what the course of learning needs to be. This will help that. It also gives us what I'll call latency in our ability to deliver education to our children now and in the future, and as we face other challenges down the line in terms of how we do what we do at potentially a lower resource level, we have to be prepared for being able to give access to content that's being delivered in the classroom on a 24/7 basis. And so this lays the foundation for that. It also gives us the ability to display in the classroom on a consistent basis these materials and this content, and to give each teacher the tools that they need in order to prepare materials that they have confidence can be delivered in the classroom setting, will display, will play, and obviously gives them that opportunity that we don't think it is today. In terms of the big parts of the investment, there are 3 that constitute about 75% of it. One is a replacement of most of the computers in labs and classrooms throughout the district. We're in a 5 to 7 year age of that particular group of equipment, and those of you who are technology buffs know that's pretty long in the tooth. So we have a big replacement cycle across the district. We also have the laptop initiative that links into all the things that I just described in the K through 5 environment. And then we have the smart boards that are also linked into those particular grade levels. So those are the big parts of the investment. It is an investment of an additional $100,000 that wasn't in the original budget versus what's in this budget. And the other thing that I'd like everybody to keep in mind is that these investments will touch not one, not two, but every student and practically every teacher in the district. So that's the nature of the investment. That's why we're doing it. And it is linked into a plan that is being driven by curriculum needs.
So, did that generate another question? So to summarize, the plan from the administration is a budget that maintains a significant portion of our existing program, contains some investment in the future, and uses some of our resources that, in the form of bank cap that we have saved for this purpose, but we would rather not be using it and not cutting programs at the same time. We'd rather have it, but we're going to lose some of that, which is going to lose some of our flexibility in the future. So I am going to open the microphone to public comment. Before I do, if any of the students in the room would like to speak, I'd like to let the students go first. And one final, I did say earlier on that I thought I don't know if it was 100 emails or not, I tried to respond something to all of them. Sometimes I answered questions, sometimes I simply said thank you and we're working hard on it, because I knew we were working hard on it. And as I said, they were very thoughtful and very fair and very passionate on any number of subjects. There was one set of emails that concerned me, and that was a petition that I was told, I didn't look at the petition, it was a petition concerning the outsourcing of paraprofessionals. We have not had a discussion for the last year and a half about outsourcing paraprofessionals. I've had 2 or 3 meetings directly with the SPEAK people because many of the full-time paraprofessionals are associated with IEPs and other special education programs. They were concerned about it. I've assured them that it's not on our agenda. I cannot say anything that will bind a future board, but it's not on this board's agenda for now or in this budget. So I want to make that absolutely clear. So students, if you would like to speak, it's okay, you don't have to. I heard some of you were very eloquent the last time, so.
I will be attending Columbia University to study mechanical engineering and applied physics. In the fall of 2010, I entered the high school shy, alone, and afraid. I had no idea what was in store for me over the next 4 years of my life. Although I had a few close friends, I struggled with anxiety and thus time management. I had trouble balancing my social and academic lives. Now, I'm a confident senior with a bright future ahead of me. Through my participation in Moorestown's debate and robotics programs, and with the help of teachers like Mr. Sinatra, Mr. Mooney, Mr. Wright, and Mr. Bross, I've overcome many personal obstacles. I get to attend my dream college and pursue the interests I discovered here at Moorestown High School. Freshman year, I decided to go on a model Congress trip. I had absolutely no experience in public speaking nor a working knowledge of our nation's government. The trip challenged me and forced me to go outside of my comfort zone. Since then, I've participated in 5 more conferences and won 6 awards, most recently a gavel in one of Harvard Model Congress's special programs. I never would have discovered my passion for politics and debate without the Model Congress program at the high school. Also, I participate in policy debate, and this year I helped lead the team to our second consecutive junior varsity championship. My personal successes in this program could never have occurred without the guidance and support of Miss Young, Mr. Wright, and especially Mr. Mooney. Their involvement in Moorestown's debate program has been instrumental in my development into a mindful, intelligent student and human being. Without their help, I probably wouldn't have the courage to speak at this meeting tonight. In addition to forensics, I also participate in Moorestown's first robotics team. Although this program has only existed for 1 year, it is hands down the most important program I participate in. Junior year in Mr. Wright's freshman honors robotics class, I discovered my passion for engineering and problem solving. This year, I was able to use this knowledge of mechanical and electrical engineering while building our nearly 100-pound robot who is named Pretzel. This team has given me real hands-on experience in engineering that will definitely be useful for me when I'm at Columbia. Our advisors, Mr. Wright and Mr. Bross, are the core of our team. There is no one at Moorestown High School as dedicated or passionate about robotics as they are. Our team did wonderfully at our first competition and in all likelihood will be advancing to the regional competition at Lehigh University. Without the dedication, experience, and time commitment of Mr. Wright and Mr. Bross, this never would have been possible. Finally, I'd like to say a few words about one of my favorite, most beloved teachers at the high school, Mr. Sinatra. I've had Mr. Sinatra for both Honors Pre-Calculus and AP Calculus BC. Although he has only taught at Moorestown for a year and a half, he is one of the best math teachers I've ever had as a student. He makes a very complicated topic quite easy to understand, and without Mr. Sinatra, I would absolutely not be prepared to enter a rigorous calculus-based engineering program in the fall. I encourage you to consider the importance of teachers like Mr. Sinatra, teachers that fully engage their students when making decisions about next year's budget. Please take advantage of resources like bank CAFT and increased tax revenues to continue Moorestown's tradition of academic excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. So many of your emails start out with, we know that we have a very thankless job. That's thank you to me. Just like graduation and handing out diplomas. Thanks for coming. Any other students? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Beth Aberrant. I'm a junior at Moorestown High School. I'm currently the president of the cooking club at Moorestown High School. And I would really urge the board to consider a proposal to eliminate the Family and Consumer Science program. This program gives the students a reason to, important life skills to the students. They need these skills to learn how to cook. One of them is learning how to raise a child. You can't learn that anywhere else besides your mom. I feel like it's pretty important. I'd also like to thank the board for their time and effort addressing this budget situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Just lean it towards you a little bit. I think I'll be fine. There you go.
Hi, I'm Stephen Plan, and I'm a 5th grader at the UES. I take orchestra, band, French, and Spanish, and enjoy these classes very much. And so many of my peers enjoy these classes too. We hope that you could vote to create. We wish that you could keep these programs running for next year and years to come. We created a petition that I would like to submit.
Any other students? Okay. Oh, yes, ma'am. Are you all part of the same group or are you separate?